My name is Faith Wilson Ward, teach at Crawford High School, English Language Arts. Been there since 1999.
My name is Cindy Page. I teach at Crawford High School in San Diego. This is my 31st year there.
My name is James Donnelly, and I'm a veteran health teacher. I taught health for 17 years, and I was also the point person for restorative practices. 80% of restorative practices is building relationships and strengthening communities. And what we know is people tend to change their behaviors based upon the relationships that they build. And everyone is involved in deciding what needs to happen to make things better. And so, for instance, if a fight occurs, we'll have our preliminary meetings, we'll have a circle. Everyone will be heard. We'll figure out who was harmed and how and what needs to be done.
They learned how to facilitate circles in other teachers' classrooms. So they had one or two co-facilitators, and they would plan a circle, and then they would go into a completely different classroom and with a teacher who may or may not have been trained in restorative justice practices.
The way that I was introduced to restorative practices was I was out at a training, and I got the call that there had been a fight in my classroom. And I thought I had built this relationship with my students, and to find out that as soon as I leave, chaos ensues. And so then I reached out and got some help from people at our district who had been working in restorative practices and had them come into my classroom the very next day. And ever since then, I've been using it as a regular tool in my classroom. First, it helps on an emotional level. Students know that there's a place where their needs will be met on a regular basis. It also helps build community on an academic level, because you can adapt circle beyond SEL. Like most people assume it's everybody sitting in therapy and talking about their feelings. And that's not what it's about at all. It can be absolutely based on your curriculum.
Often we find that a conflict at the root of it was a misunderstanding or an exaggerated reaction. Apologies will be made, relationships will be healed, and very rarely do those same conflicts resurface. What we find is when students feel seen, understood, accepted, they're more likely to show up as their best self and encourage others to do the same.
It just really deepened that trust that they had for each other and their ability to rely on each other. It really helped them, I think, not only grow as students, but also grow as people. And then we also saw a little bit of spillover into beyond the classroom too, because there are lots of conflicts that we encounter in life. And by using these strategies that we use in restorative circles, and by understanding how to set boundaries and how to set guidelines for our relationships with each other, that also helped them to have more healthy relationships as well.
There's always at the end of the circle something to learn. Sometimes it didn't go that well, and you have time to reflect.
When we learn to be aware, acknowledge, and process our feelings, take accountability for our actions in a community that we all feel connected with, everything becomes easier.
One of the greatest resources that I have found over the last decade or so are students themselves. When students are circle trained and they can be advocates for restorative practice, when they can have your back, when they can show, maybe older students can show younger students how to behave in circle or what the expectations are, that is huge.
But I think the really important thing about this work is that we're all imperfect, we all make mistakes, we're all learning.
And restorative practices isn't what we do, it's who we are and how we show up as effective teachers and supportive community members.